Welcome back. In the 99th prayer video, we saw that Jesus prepared for the spiritual war that he knew he would encounter and for the ministry that his Father had prepared for him by spending 40 days and 40 nights in prayer and fasting. We then considered how Moses as well had fasted in preparation for his ministry to the Israelites. That period of fasting occurred after he had already been developing a relationship with Yahweh. Today we want to consider another place where people fasted, but this time more directly, seeking the intervention of God in the situation to which they had found themselves. Esther had become Queen of Persia when King Ahasuerus had removed Vashti from being the queen because of her insubordination and disrespect. Esther's original name was Hadassah. She was Jewish. However, her ethnicity was not disclosed and was unknown to the king and his cabinet. Now, a man named Haman had become second in power to the king and very influential. He had become angry with a man named Mordecai because Mordecai would not bow to him. Instead of taking out his vengeance on Mordecai alone, he decided to influence the king into exterminating all of the Jews, for Mordecai was a Jew. Haman was successful in his endeavor, and a decree was made setting a date for the destruction of all Jews in the empire. When Mordecai heard of the plan, he openly wept and put on sackcloth and ashes. Now, when Esther was made aware that her uncle, Mordecai, was in the city acting in such a manner, she sent her servants to find out why he was acting in such a way, because she was unaware of the decree. When the servant arrived, Mordecai explained to the servant the situation and gave him a copy of the decree. We pick up the account in Esther chapter 4, beginning of verse 9. So Hathach returned and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Then Esther spoke to Hathach and gave him a command for Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that any man or woman who goes into the inner court to the king, who has not been called, he has but one law: put all to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter, that he may live. Yet I myself have not been called to go into the king these 30 days. So they told Mordecai Esther's words. And Mordecai told them to answer Esther, "Do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, "Go, gather all the Jews who are present in Shushan, and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise. And so I will go to the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther commanded him. Note the similarity in Esther's ultimate decision to that of Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael as they stood before Nebuchadnezzar. She was placing her fate in the hand of God. First, though, she asked for the people to pray and to fast on her behalf for 3 days and 3 nights. people did so. And God granted Esther favor before the king. We continue the account in chapter 5, beginning of verse 1. Now it happened on the third day that Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, across from the king's house, while the king sat on his royal throne in the royal house, facing the entrance of the house. So it was, when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, that she found favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. Then Esther went near and touched the top of the scepter. And the king said to her, "What do you wish, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you, up to half of the kingdom." Now you can read the rest of the account in the book of Esther. However, for our meditation, consider the importance of prayer and fasting in the situation in which the Jews had found themselves in Persia at that moment. Is there a situation in which you truly need the intervention and intercession of God in your life? How badly do you want God to be involved? Again, fasting is not meant to be a manipulation tool. Rather, it is to be an act of revealing your passion for the presence and power of God in your life. He still is sovereign. Yet, God desires for us to pray and to fast. Jesus, again, stated as though it was an expectation that his disciples would pray and fast, that they would earnestly, passionately seek his face, seek his intercession and his intervention in situations in their life. As you take time today to pray, if you haven't yet been seeking God's face regarding the concept of fasting, I would like to challenge you one more time to consider taking time to fast. Not as a diet, but rather seeking Yahweh's face for wisdom or guidance, for his intercession or his intervention. Growing closer and more intimate in your time with him. And yet, being willing to receive an answer of no for whatever you're seeking, if that is his will. Take time to pray and have a blessed day.